Incidentally, in this document, he he does put to sleep those who, for the last 30 or 40 years, were invoking the decree of Pope St. Pius V in quo primum, saying that the Latin Mass is in place and cannot be changed until the end of time. Every pope has absolute authority over the liturgy. Pius V himself, after the decree quo primum, reformed the liturgy in subtle ways after that. And then about 7 or 8 popes made changes in the calendar, in the Mass itself, and finally in 1962, Blessed John XXIII made a few revisions in the Mass, nothing major, just minor little adjustments. For example, he inserted the name of St. Joseph in the canon of the Mass. And so just those few minor changes, no major changes whatsoever. Pope Pius XII did make some major changes in the reform of the liturgy of the Triduum. So then the Holy Father says, hence it is licit to celebrate the sacrifice of the Mass in accordance with the edition of the Roman Missal promulgated by Blessed John XXIII in 1962, which was never abrogated. It was never forbidden, contrary to what many express. And it is the extraordinary form of the liturgy of the Church. Article 2. This might take a little bit of explaining. Not explaining, but, well, explanation. Number 2. A Mass is celebrated without the people, also known as a private Mass. What is a private Mass? Obviously, the Mass we're celebrating today is not a private Mass. It's a public Mass. It's published in the bulletin. It's open to the public. A private Mass will be, for example, tomorrow morning. I'm going to get up at about 4:30. Hope my alarm goes off. So that I can say Mass tomorrow morning in my private chapel. If I do not do that, I will not have the opportunity to say Mass by the time I get to St. Louis. There'll be no facilities for me to say Mass. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to say a private Mass in my chapel, in my house. The people that are driving me to the airport will attend. That's a private Mass. Incidentally, that was always permitted, but the Pope is reaffirming that. And so if Mass is celebrated without the people, any priest of the Latin Rite, whether secular priest or religious, can use the Missale Romanum published by Pope Blessed John XXIII in 1962, or the Roman Missal promulgated by Pope Paul VI in 1970, on any day except during the sacred Triduum. That does not mean that the Latin Mass is forbidden during the Triduum. Only private Masses of either rite cannot be celebrated during the Triduum, of either form, I should say. For celebration in accordance with one or the other missal, a priest does not require any permission, neither from the Apostolic See nor from his ordinary. Article 4. With due respect, with due observance of the law, canon law of the Church, even faithful who spontaneously request it may be celebrated, may be admitted to the celebrations of the Mass as in Article 2 above. Number 5. In parishes where a group of faithful attached to the previous liturgical existence, previous liturgical tradition, exists stably. That word stably is very important. As I said, the Holy Father was very careful and very methodical. That means if a group of parishioners in any given church throughout the Catholic world, a stable group, request the Latin Mass, it cannot be denied. What the Holy Father is trying to prevent there is some, and I'm not trying to be flippant, some liturgy committee who has no idea what liturgy is to start with. Well, we had a bongo Mass last week, and we had a banjo Mass the week after that. Let's have a Latin Mass that's not a stable group. So any stable group, a serious group of Catholic people who request the Latin Mass, the Pope says, let the pastor willingly accede to their request for the celebration of the Holy Mass, according to the rite of the Roman Missal published in 1962. Let him see to it that the good of these faithful be harmoniously reconciled with ordinary pastoral care of the parish, under the governance of the bishop, according to Canon 392, avoiding discord and fostering the unity of the Church. The big problem that exists, and that we're all going to have to face, that the Church will have to address with putting this into effect, is the fact that for the last 40 years, unfortunately, very unfortunately, in our seminaries, Latin has not been taught. Not one word. It almost became like a forbidden language. After the council, they just threw all the Latin books out, and okay, no more Latin, that's the end of that. That was a horrible miscalculation. Not only because of the Latin Mass, but to really study theology. All of the documents are written in Latin. So when Latin is not understood, we're slaves to the translators, who sometimes translate things with an agenda. So the problem in implementing this is if a group of the faithful go to the pastor and say, we'd like to have a Latin Mass, it's a stable group. In many, well, I'm afraid in most cases, the pastor will not be able to comply because he doesn't know the Latin. Not a word. And then the second problem with that is that there are many options in the new Mass. In the old Mass, there are none. And so every move, every gesture, every sign of the cross, every turn is rigidly mandated by the rubric. So that's going to be another problem. So how that will be implemented, we don't know. The fraternity, the priestly fraternity of St. Peter is offering seminars. I spoke to Father Avis at the Institute of Christ the King the other day. The Institute is giving private lessons to priests who want to celebrate the Mass. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's a mistake to think that a priest is going to watch a video and learn how to say the Latin Mass. Look at our own dear Father David Reinders. Father Reinders has diligently studied for going on 2 years now. As you remember, he stood next to me every Sunday. He studied the Mass carefully. He went up to the Fraternity Church of St. Peter, the Fraternity of St. Peter Apostolate in Phoenix, studied under Father Fryer. He went to St. Louis, took lessons from the Institute of Christ the King there. And so now he's pretty good at saying the Latin Mass, but it takes time. So how all of this is going to wash out, we'll have to see where the Holy Spirit leads us.